All right. And we are live. So, welcome to another season of live Clow card readings, where we tell fortunes regarding general future, romance, and career. Now, as usual, the custom, if people comment while we are live, we will tell your fortunes as well. Just comment your zodiac sign and gender, as well as if you'd like a general future, romance, or career reading, and I will do yours as well. We will get into the usual custom of the previous season, though, and do a reading for all of my other fortunes. And then we will talk about new developments regarding music, and of course, a little mysticism from Neville Goddard, because that never hurts either. All right, so let's shuffle these cards. Haven't actually done a reading in a while. Took some time off before we came back for this new season. So, hopefully, we will start the new season off with good readings. Either my own or other people's. I guess we will see. Okay, so let's see what the Great Clow cards have to reveal to me tonight. Oh, Great Clow cards of Mystic Power, the power of the sun, the moon, and the stars. The great cards created by Clow Reed. Reveal to me whatever message you have for me tonight. And release. This is general future. So, first 5 cards reveal the return card, the thunder card, the voice, the illusion, and the shot. Okay, so the return card is saying I have to go back to something. Something from the past needs to be dealt with and taken care of. There's been a bit of static lately, almost interference, maybe confusion embodying itself as thunder. The voice ultimately serves as my strength in all cases. The illusion means that things appear currently that are not actually how they are. Like things that I think they appear that way or they seem to be a certain way aren't actually the way they are, which is a good sign because if I look at how I think things are, it's not very good. But I'm like, oh, well, if it's an illusion, then things are actually really good. And the shot indicates that I have to take a move. I need to take a shot, go for a chance that will be presented to me soon in the nearby future. Okay. What other cards shall I draw? Great Clow cards of Clow Reed reveal to me the next 5 cards that are necessary for me to understand the general future that you are guiding me from through the power of the sun and the moon of the universe. Release. Okay. Oh, okay. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. All right. So the first card we got was the Wave card, which is a sign of going with the flow. The Sakura card indicates that I am the only hero of my own story, meaning I have the means to do it by myself, that I don't have to rely on others. The Shadow means there's issues of the past, especially with the time card that with the return card. There's things I have to go back and overlook. Shadows of the past need to be handled in order to move forward. However, the challenges that are presented to me, some big challenges are coming. However, the big card is also saying that because big challenges are coming my way, there's usually a good reward after. And I got the time card as well, meaning that until I decide to move forward, time is kind of at a standstill. So that's actually very interesting. All right, now let's see what is in store regarding romance. Then we'll do career. All right, great. Clow cards. Clow read. What shall ye reveal to me as far as romance goes? Nice. Okay. Well, this is very interesting. First, we got the freeze card, which means romance is kind of at a standstill. It's kind of like it's frozen in place where it is now, which is understandable. However, the flower card indicates that some new expectation of this is about to emerge. Something is about to reap its harvest, which is a good sign. The windy indicates that there are forces unbeknownst to me that aren't actually leading to this, that I don't recognize, that I don't see, but they're all playing their part in harmony with the nature of the universe. The light means that this is when I have to rely on my own inner strength and shine my brightest. This is what will lead me to it. And the song is indicating that there's a specific song that will guide me when it comes to romance. So I have to take that message to heart, ponder upon it. There's actually certain songs that come to mind, so maybe I'll listen to them after our broadcast tonight. But yeah, very interesting reading. Now we will do career. So great Clow cards, Clow read. Reveal to me what message you have for news with my career. All right, release. Okay. This is an interesting one. Very interesting. To get all these cards, I'm like, this actually presents an interesting sort of correlation with career and the general reading. All right, so the dark card is symbolizing that there is sort of darkness shrouded upon the career path that I choose to go for. And it may lead to confusion. It may lead to uncertainty of where to go regarding it. Almost like being trapped in a maze. There's many different paths I could take. However, the change card indicates that I have to put myself in somebody else's shoes and really look at it as though how somebody who has already succeeded would have handled it. The dream indicates that I will get a sign from a dream tonight, which will reveal to me where I should go and how I should look at this, whose perspective I should view this all from. And the mist also indicates confusion, sort of leaving the past behind and letting all the worries, fears, and obstacles sort of disintegrate in the haze of confusion that is currently presented before me. So yeah, that's all for my readings. If anybody else does comment while we are doing this, I will be sure to read yours as well and tell your fortune. But for now, that is it. Anyways, we will get into the discussion period before we read some Neville Goddard now. So, with regards to my albums, my solo albums as Super Kami Guru Alucard, I've now released 7 full albums, starting with going in order from 2019 till now. We had Impulse, then we had Nail Gun, Mahjong Titan, Final Requiem, then we had My Unique Valentine, Expressions of One's Heart, and the newest one, Parallel Reality Volume 1, or just Parallel Reality 1. Parallel Reality 2 will be dropping sometime in August, in case anybody else is excited for that. And as far as my jazz band, the S.O.S. Brigade Quartet, we have actually released 4 solo albums now. I was mentioning this in previous episodes that we wanted to actually release the 4th album by July 7th, Tanabata. Unfortunately, there was a delay with the distribution and TuneCore. Didn't end up actually coming out until July the 12th. But and it was kind of sad on that part. Like, I really did want to come out on Tanabata, but at the same time, it's better that I didn't have to compete with Hitomi on July the 8th. I apologize for that train in the background. It's really noisy and loud and irritating and distracting. Those people literally pick their hours when they just show up. They need to oil those tracks too, honestly. That thing screeches and squeaks so much it hurts my ears because I have sensitive hearing, right? As an artist, I'm like, oil that damn train and get it the hell out of here. Luckily, it seemed like that was a short one because it's already gone. Sometimes they're there for hours. So, thank you, God. Arigato gozaimasu, kami-sama. Anyways, yeah, as I was saying, though, with regards to the S.O.S. Brigade Quartet, that makes 4 albums now. This one was called Music and Life Lessons. The previous 3 before that were In Search of Harmonic Discoveries and Straight Out of the Archives, previously preceded by a history lesson and then the live recording of covers called High Standards. All very good records. I definitely advise you all to check them out. And the 5th album, Time for an Exam, will come out sometime around November. In fact, it's actually dropping on the day that Takako Mamiya released her infamous J-pop classic, Love Trip, and then mysteriously vanished off to the face of the earth after. Actually, I have that record, so I'll show you all that. One of my all-time favorites, oddly enough, and it's worth $100 a CD now because there's so much mystery shrouded around her and her music, and the fact that it's such a masterpiece. I mean, an original unopened sealed vinyl copy of it goes for like $1,000. So it's quite a classic gem to even have that record. And I'm a big fan. I have dedicated to finding as much information as I can to someday help solve the mystery. In fact, I've discovered I probably know more than the average person because I've really used every resource possible to do some digging. So that's what's fascinating. I don't have the answer. I haven't fully solved it, but I'm further along than some other people because I've really been doing my homework trying to solve the mystery like a detective, right? So yeah, that 5th album of the S.O.S. Brigade Quartet will drop on November 25th, which was the day that Love Trip was actually released. Now, it wasn't successful at the time. Oddly enough, it was a flop. Yet the single survived getting played at Tokyo clubs in the 80s, and that's why people even became aware of it, and somehow the nostalgia of it did survive on some level. But now, because it blew up on the internet and became so popular and well received as this masterpiece of an album from its era, it's got millions of views. The album sold over 5 million copies now, and it's just kind of a phenomenal work of, okay, it might not succeed right when you release it, but you give it enough time and it's really good, people are going to catch on and they're going to see like, wow, that's just fantastic music. And I'm honestly hoping for the same thing when it comes to success with my own music career. Maybe that's the sign I should look for in itself. But next, we will get into reading a bit of Neville Goddard, who I actually did finish this. This is a great collection of all his work. I recommend it to anybody who is a Neville Goddard fan or who wants to learn about the law of assumption and mysticism. The Complete Reader, which it has At Your Command, Awakened Imagination and the Search, Feeling is the Secret, Freedom for All, Out of This World, Prayer, The Art of Believing, Seed Time and Harvest, The Law and the Promise, The Power of Awareness, and Your Faith is Your Fortune, which I'll tell you, honestly, all of his books were really good. I read Feeling is the Secret probably over 6 times now. I'm going to say it was either 6 or 7. I'm thinking it was 6, but if I read it again, which I plan to do, that would definitely make it 7. And then I could honestly say that, and Your Faith is Your Fortune, and Power of Awareness were definitely my 3 favorites, though. But every single one of his books is actually fascinating information. There is such valuable knowledge that really reveals the mysteries of the universe within it. Now, what I decided to do, I apologize for the yelling and the dogs barking in the background. Seems like there's always something going on when I do my show, right? But hey, it's never a dull moment. Anyways, we will read the chapter of Your Faith is Your Fortune now, called A Formula for Victory, because the last chapter, was actually really inspiring. It takes the idea of the wall of Jericho, in which Joshua had a vision of capturing it despite nearly impossible odds, and yet he was able to overcome it. And this is really, it's a good chapter because it really gives you the idea of how you can obtain any desire, no matter how hard it might seem, how difficult the obstacles or challenges that present themselves to you come if you follow this formula. So it's very valuable information. All right, A Formula for Victory, Chapter 27. Every place that the sole of your foot shall tread upon, that have I given unto you. The majority of people are familiar with the story of Joshua capturing the city of Jericho. What they do not know is that this story is the perfect formula for victory under any circumstances and against all odds. It is recorded that Joshua was armed only with the knowledge that every place that the sole of his foot should tread upon would be given to him, that he desired to capture or tread upon the city of Jericho, but found the wall separating him from the city impassable. It seemed physically impossible for Joshua to get beyond these massive walls and stand upon the city of Jericho. Yet he was driven by the knowledge of the promise that, regardless of the barriers and obstacles separating him from his desires, if he could but stand upon the city, it would be given to him. The book of Joshua further records that instead of fighting this giant problem of the wall, Joshua employed the services of the harlot Rahab and sent her as a spy into the city. As Rahab entered her house, which stood in the midst of the city, Joshua, who was securely barred from the impassable walls of Jericho, blew on his trumpet 7 times. At the 7th blast, the walls crumbled, and Joshua entered the city victoriously. To the uninitiated, this story is senseless. To the one who sees it as a psychological drama rather than a historical record, it is most revealing. If we would follow the example of Joshua, our victory would be similarly simple. Joshua symbolizes to you, the reader, your present state. The city of Jericho symbolizes your desire or defined objective. The walls of Jericho symbolize the obstacles between you and the realization of your objectives. The foot symbolizes the understanding. Placing the sole of the foot upon a definite place indicates fixing a definite psychological state. Rahab, the spy, is your ability to travel secretly or psychologically to any place in space. Consciousness knows no frontier. No one can stop you from dwelling psychologically at any point, or in any state in time or space. Regardless of the physical barriers separating you from your objective, you can, without effort or help of anyone, annihilate time, space, and barriers. Thus, you can dwell psychologically in the desired state. So, although you may not be able to tread physically upon a state or city, you can always tread psychologically upon any desired state. By treading psychologically, I mean that you can now, this moment, close your eyes and after visualizing or imagining a place or state other than your present one, actually feel that you are now in such a place or state. You can feel this condition to be so real that upon opening your eyes, you are amazed to find that you are not physically there. A harlot, as you know, gives to all men that which they ask of her. Rahab, the harlot, symbolizes your infinite capacity to psychologically assume any desirable state without questioning whether or not you are physically or morally fit to do so. You can today capture the modern city of Jericho, or your defined objective, if you will psychologically reenact this story of Joshua. But to capture the city and to realize your desires, you must carefully follow the formula of victory as laid down in this book of Joshua. This is the application of this victorious formula as a modern mystic reveals it today. First, define your objective, not the manner of obtaining it, but your objective pure and simple. Know exactly what it is you desire so that you have a clear mental picture of it. Secondly, take your attention away from the obstacles which separate you from your objective and place your thought on the objective itself. Thirdly, close your eyes and feel that you are already in the city or state that you would capture. Remain with this psychological state until you get a conscious reaction of complete satisfaction in this victory. Then, by simply opening your eyes, return to your former conscious state. This secret journey into the desired state, with its subsequent psychological reaction of complete satisfaction, is all that is necessary to bring about total victory. This victorious psychical state will embody itself despite all opposition. It has the plan and power of self expression. From this point forward, follow the example of Joshua, who, after psychologically dwelling in the desired state until he received a complete conscious reaction of victory, did nothing more to bring about this victory than to blow 7 times on his trumpet. The 7th blast symbolizes the 7th day, a time of stillness or rest, the interval between the subjective and objective states, a period of pregnancy or joyful expectation and expectancy. This stillness is not the stillness of the body, but rather the stillness of the mind, a perfect passivity, which is not indolence, but is living stillness born of trust in this immutable law of consciousness. Those not familiar with this law or formula for victory, in attempting to still their minds, succeed in only acquiring a quiet tension, which is nothing more than compressed anxiety. But you will know this law, will find that after capturing the psychological state, which would be yours if you were already victorious and actually entrenched in that city, will move forwards towards the psychical realization and physical realization of your desires. You will do this without doubt or fear, in a state of mind fixed in the knowledge of a prearranged victory. You will not be afraid of the enemy, because the outcome has been determined by the psychological state that preceded the physical offensive, and all the forces of heaven and earth cannot stop the victorious fulfillment of that state. Stand still in the psychological state defined as your objective until you feel the thrill of victory. Then, with confidence, born of the knowledge of this law, watch the physical realization of your objective. Set yourself, stand still, and watch the salvation of the law with you. And that concludes that. So, hopefully, people got some wisdom from that. I think it's a very powerful sort of point. It really, in my opinion, why I read that chapter, and I find it fascinating, is it's a really good summary of all of Neville Goddard's teachings as a whole. Like what he says, you could really take everything he says in that last chapter, apply it, and that would be pretty much the gist of everything he teaches in his lectures and all his other books. Not to say don't go out and read them and don't learn it from different angles, because we all learn in different ways. We might have a different way of understanding something in something else he said or wrote. However, if you want my honest opinion, that would be the most sufficient chapter to really end that book on, because it really summarizes everything he teaches throughout all of those books in one volume. It's really powerful and moving, because if you have faith in, if you have faith in fate itself to be successful or to be happy and loving and the positive outcome you want, do you notice how usually we assume naturally, whether it's good or bad, we always assume something. When something bad happens, we assume the worst. You notice how when we assume something good, like, things will work itself out, it'll be all right, it's not that big of a deal. You notice how every time when people do that, it ends up actually working out and things turn out all right because it works both ways. You can either assume the worst or assume the best. It's very fascinating in that sense. With my current desires, I am really just assuming the best. And as Goddard would say as well, I'm imagining ahead of my evidence because I wouldn't really have anything to say like that, oh, yeah, this happened or that happened, other than if it's happened, and I know it has happened. Now, there's been a number of examples where I have actually applied these things that God taught me. Hence why I do consider him the greatest mystic and the best teacher of this law of attraction and manifesting community, because what he actually says makes a lot of sense. I mean, when I was hearing his lectures for free on YouTube, he would always say things like, try it, cost you no money. And at first, I admit, I thought, like, this guy's crazy. He's insane. He's as mad as the Hatter in Alice in Wonderland, as he said in one lecture, right? I actually thought he was nuts. But then I thought, you know what? He's right, though. It doesn't cost me any money. Some of these coaches want $3,000, $6,000, right? So I'm like, well, you know what? I have nothing to lose by just trying what Goddard said. Doesn't cost me any money. He's right. What does it cost to have faith, as he would say, right? So I'm like, okay, I'll try that. Sure enough, I tried that in many cases. Oh, that worked. Shit, he was right about that. Oh, I'm going to try that. That worked too. And it's like the more I tried or what he said and took into action of actually applying what he says to do, I've noticed more and more things actually happening exactly as he said it would. And if there is really a universal truth that there is no such thing as coincidences or accidents, then surely it's all happening for a reason to lead me up to the fulfillment of the big goals or the big desires. But he also teaches too that, like, you really have to have faith. And I notice when people are trying to learn this stuff, they learn about manifesting the law of attraction, they get all really excited at first, but then when they don't get it right away, they get kind of impatient, they lose interest. They sit there and they say, oh, well, I've been trying, but this isn't something you try. This is something you really have to put your being into. Like, you have to and this was actually some advice I got from another mentor I learned a bit of things from, a guy named Peter Sage. He once told me that if you really want to build up your endurance, you have to train for a marathon, not for a sprint. And that is the best way I could put it. Like, if you're sitting there thinking, oh, I'm just going to assume or imagine something once and it's going to happen, you're probably going to be sorely disappointed. Not to say that it can't happen. If you really believe it strongly once just doing it, then yeah, do it. But it all depends on the nature of the assumption. Is it believable that it would happen so fast? Because everything has to happen in its own natural way. That's what I've discovered. And also, a key thing that Goddard always said in a lot of his lectures, which it makes a lot of sense, it goes with the idea of the universal law of gender and gestation, that everything has an incubation period, whether it's a baby in the womb, crops for harvest, or a spiritually seated idea, a manifestation, a goal, a desire, whatever you want to call it, right? Everything has its own interval of time. Every vision has its own appointed hour. Scripture says that as well. And what that means is, if you're faithful to it, it will happen. You might not 100% know when it's going to happen. The universe will make it happen at the right time. It will not be late, but it will happen not only when you're ready for it, but when the universe has naturally built up enough time and belief and faith in it happening. That's the energy you're putting out. And then also for everything to come in alignment, that it could actually open the doors to make it happen for you. Now, a lot of coaches are like, oh, you need to take massive action. Whereas Goddard says, no, you just assume it. You don't actually need to take action. Action follows naturally. you will notice that you are drawn to do certain things. You have ideas to do certain things, and you think you're consciously trying to do them. But the reality is, it's actually the path that you're putting yourself into in that current state of reality that is actually directing the actions and the movements of your consciousness to make you think those things. It's because you're thinking from that place there that it is returning, sort of like sending text messages. It's returning the signal back to you like, oh, I should be doing this. Okay, I'm not going to be doing this because that ain't going to get me anywhere. But I'm going to be doing this because that could help me in that direction. Now, depending on what the desire is, it might take a lot of action. But if it takes a lot of action, you will know what to do. If you don't know what to do, well, then you have to leave it to the infinite intelligence of universal consciousness in that regard. Because the way I see it, if the goal is really a big one, you're not going to know how to get there. And even Bob was big on this. You don't need to know exactly how you're going to get there. Just take all the steps you can take. And one of my coaches and teachers I learned from at the beginning of this year, a woman named Mary Kate, who has her own channel on YouTube. Definitely check out her videos. She's pretty insightful. She said something to me that I never forgot that made a lot of sense. She said, you have to meet the universe halfway. Do everything you can towards leading you to it, but then that's when you also got to surrender with faith and just trust that things will work out in the best way possible. And that's why we have those positive affirmations and whatnot to guide us, to keep our mind sort of neutral when we're going through the ups and downs, because everything has a law of rhythm in this universe. Everything goes up and down. I won't lie to you people. I've gone through many ups and downs, but I look at it as, if you really want the desire and it's meant for you, I believe that you will persist. You will have faith no matter what the hell gets thrown at you. And you could look at it as, when you're getting tested, when you're getting challenged, it just means you're getting that much closer. It means you're raising your vibration and you're getting closer to reaching the top. Now, when you go through these ups and downs, a lot of people get discouraged. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying there hasn't been times where I haven't cried and been like, oh my God, how am I going to get there? But what I can tell you, though, is I never stopped believing. Because what I've noticed is the key ingredient when everything has happened that I did manifest, everything big or small, when it actually happened, it's because I just let it go. I just surrendered with faith and thought, well, you know what? No, I still have it. Everything is working out the way it's supposed to be. I'm there. Might not show me that on the current 3D reality, the plane that we inhabit of our world, the shadow world that we live in. But when you actually have faith, you're trusting that, no, it'll be all right. I mean, what I say to all the time, this is like my own personal affirmation, which I got from the anime card captor Sakura. I'm a big fan of it, hence the Clow cards. But she would always say, Zettai ni daijoubu yo, which would translate to, it'll definitely be all right. And that's how you could look at it, as no matter what's going on, no matter how things appear in the moment, just tell yourself, no, it's definitely all right. It's definitely all right. I do it in the Japanese version because I like saying it that way. Zettai ni daijoubu yo. But it's a really good affirmation, because even when you're going through sort of the low swings of the rhythm, you could tell yourself, oh, well, okay, it's pretty rough right now. It seems challenging. It's scary. But damn, it's really going to get good now, because as it goes up, it must come down. As it goes down, it must go back up. And that's how it is. It goes up and down. It's almost like a bungee cord. And we are all on this bungee cord of life as it goes up and down. Now, depending on what we're focusing on the most, that's going to steer us in that direction towards things of that nature. So that's why Goddard was very big on this too. Don't focus on the obstacles or the challenges. Focus on just the desired result, the end. Already having my current desires, that's how I try to justify that too. And before we end it, I will also say, like, oddly enough, I've been doing this one kind of unconsciously. I always tell tell myself to. I'm like, oh, Chihara Minori is my best friend. She always hearts my comments. And oddly enough, she always does heart my comments. There's never been a time when she misses to do that. In fact, today, she had this wonderful video which cheered me up. It lifted my spirits. She's very sweet, very nice lady, very talented artist too. Great singer, great voice actress. And yeah, her video, it was very nice. She was cooking some food. She was drinking some Japanese beer. It was funny. I was laughing. I was in good spirits watching it, right? So I said, oh, very cute, Chihara-chan. And then I also said, keep up the great work making all those videos. And then she hearted that comment too. So you see, you assume it, you just kind of let it go and believe, no, it's always like that, right? Sure enough, you have faith in it, it must reveal itself. So that's where we will conclude this episode of live Clow card readings for this evening. But if you catch this after the broadcast, feel free to comment if you would like your fortune told, and I will get to it in the next episode. Till then, arigatou gozaimasu minasan, oyasumi nasai, jane.